Lord of the Sith Darth Sidious, above anything else the galaxy could offer him, desired power. Palpatine was someone so caught up in himself that he had little time to form attachments with anybody that he deemed unnecessary, only involving himself with those that he saw as powerful and intelligent, or those he could use as a means to an end. The most famous example, of course, being Darth Vader. But we know before Darth Vader experienced love in the form of Anakin Skywalker, when he was in love with Padme Amidala, eventually even marrying her before her death. In the rules of the Jedi, though, they forbid marriage and too much of an attachment with any individual. For the Sith, though, this is different, as there is nothing in Sith law or culture that forbids marriage. So this raises one of the biggest questions that many fans have had about Emperor Palpatine for some time. Did Palpatine actually have a wife and a family? In Legends continuity, we have the answer. In Legends, it is made very clear that Emperor Palpatine never married, but we're unsure if he ever had any children. Although there were various rumors that Emperor Palpatine did in fact have illegitimate children, none were confirmed. But we will discuss today something that was close to at least a wife to Palpatine. It was revealed in Star Wars Legends that Palpatine never took a wife. He did, however, have concubine, basically somebody that lived with Palpatine as a mistress, but on a lower level than his wife, ensuring in a way that there was no heir to the Empire. No heir to the Empire except for potentially Darth Vader. The most famous of Emperor Palpatine's concubines was named Roganda. Roganda herself was a former Jedi initiate that managed to survive Order 66 and worked her way into Imperial ranks. As a Jedi youngling, Roganda was eventually captured by Inquisitors and then integrated into Imperial society, losing all her love and attachment for the Jedi Order and serving the Empire willingly, realizing at the time that by far the most powerful individual in the galaxy was Emperor Palpatine, and she willingly kneeled to him. Eventually, Roganda would grow into a quite beautiful woman, and was even able to infiltrate the Imperial court, where Palpatine resided. It was here for several years that Roganda would serve as one of Emperor Palpatine's concubines. Eventually, though, she would have an affair with another member of the Imperial court, and would have a son. After discovering this, in order to pay for her crime, Roganda fully submitted herself to the will of the dark side of the Force and Palpatine, instead becoming one of the Emperor's hands and a dark Jedi, serving her Emperor faithfully but still no longer being one of his concubines. After Palpatine's death above Endor, Roganda rose as one of the people who claimed that her son was the legitimate heir to the Imperial throne, and that her son was in fact the true son of Emperor Palpatine, although this was completely false. Eventually the truth would come out, and the Imperials were able to determine that her son was not in fact the son of Palpatine himself, although they were able to confirm that Roganda had in fact been a concubine of Palpatine for several years. Realizing this put Roganda and her son in instant danger, and therefore the two of them fled into unknown space to train further in the dark side of the Force, believing themselves not powerful enough to crush the newly formed Jedi Order as well as the Empire, although the Empire themselves were struggling. So in canon, thanks to the rise of Skywalker, we also recently learned that Emperor Palpatine did at the very least have a mistress, as it was revealed that Rey is actually the granddaughter of Darth Sidious through his son. It is currently unknown if Palpatine's son was actually a Force sensitive and could touch the dark side of the Force, but it is likely that he could not, as it is very clear in the rise of Skywalker that it doesn't seem as if he'd been trained in the ways of the dark side, as the Force appeared to skip a generation, as it has been known to do in the past. Palpatine would ultimately have his son, as well as his son's wife, assassinated by the assassin known as Ochi, a Sith loyalist. However, before they were both killed, they managed to hide their young daughter Rey on the backwater planet known as Jakku, and Emperor Palpatine was not able to find Rey for several decades. So in canon, we actually do know that Palpatine probably had a wife, or at the very least a relationship. For what purposes are completely unknown, as in all of Star Wars canon we've seen very little of even a hint of Palpatine, besides maybe one of his Imperial advisors, as Palpatine's closest relationship to a woman in Star Wars canon was Sly Moore. However, we know for a fact that Sly Moore is not related to Rey because Sly Moore is Umbaran, and Rey is clearly not Umbaran in lineage. Sly Moore, though, was an Umbaran female Force adept with the alleged ability to manipulate the minds of others, and was the senior administrative aide and chief of staff of Supreme Chancellor Sheev Palpatine. She would ultimately stand at the Chancellor's side along with the Vice chair Mas Amedda on the day that Palpatine ended the Clone Wars and anointed himself Emperor of the First Galactic Empire. She was one of the few people who knew of Palpatine's true identity as Darth Sidious, so it is likely that Palpatine may have had a relationship with Sly Moore, one of his closest confidants. But again, Sly Moore is not Rey's grandmother. Anyway though, my friends, we do know for a fact that Palpatine did have a relationship in canon that resulted in the birth of a son and later Rey, as well as the story that we addressed in Star Wars Legend. But again guys, what are your personal thoughts on this and Palpatine's relationships over Legends and canon, as well as everything we know about them? If you guys are interested, we're having a absolutely massive sale on the Star Wars merch page where you can get stuff up to 70% off and shirts and t-shirts as low as $11, so check it out if you're interested. Anyway my friends, may the Force be with you and have a great day.